Hello, dear students. So, we were discussing about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, where we had seen the reproductive structure of the male and female flowers, right? And then we had focused on the male reproductive portion, we had seen what is the structure of the microsporangium and what is the structure of the diathecous anthers. They are four chambered, and then we had seen at the tissue layer, at the tissue level, that there are these four layers in the structure. After that, we had also seen how the pollen mother cell or PMC gives rise to the uh, pollen grains, which are mature pollen grains, and they get released after dehiscence, right? So after having discussed this general thing about the pollen grains, now let us go into more detail of the structure of the pollen grain. We already have seen a little bit uh, rather introductory brief detail about the introductory brief about the um, microsporogenesis, right? So once the structure of the pollen grain is clear to you, you will be able to appreciate it more, that how this male gametophyte actually participates in the sexual reproduction in the flowering plants. So now let us discuss the next topic, which is pollen grain. So actually pollen grain is nothing but it is a male gametophyte. Okay. So when the tetrad is formed, the pollen grain starts maturing, and after the maturation, the tetrad separates and each pollen grain becomes independent. So what is the structure of the pollen grain? That is also we will see a little bit. So if you see in figure 2.4, here you can see that there are huge diversity and there are marvelous beautiful structures and huge diversity in the structure of the pollen grain. Okay, so how does this come about? And so we will see those things as well. So if you see a flower which is having these anthers, which is having the androecium portion, you will see that there is a powdery grain on the anthers, right? So this powdery grain is nothing but the it is nothing but the pollen grains. If you touch the anthers of a flower with your hand, this powdery grain will be sticking to your fingers. So these are the pollen grains. If you put them on a glass slide and you observe under a microscope, you can appreciate its beauty. This is really very beautiful structure, and various species of the plants, these angiospermic groups have uh, various shapes and sizes, and there is huge diversity and marvelous architecture and marvelous shapes and sizes will be there, as you can also appreciate from the figure. So the shape, color, size, design, these features actually show a huge diversity if you study the pollen grains of the angiosperms. And the outer structure of the pollen grain, the shape of that outer layer, there is a huge variety of architecture and huge variation in those designs. Okay, they are also seen. You can appreciate it using a high power microscopes. Okay, if you see size or shape, most of the pollen grains will be nearly spherical or almost spherical in shape. Sometimes they may be a little bit oval or a little bit longitudinal or cylindrical, but mostly they are spherical in shape. And the diameter for most of the pollen grains is 25 to 50 micrometers, right? So 25 to 50 micron is the diameter of the pollen grains usually, However, there might be certain pollen grains which are smaller in size and certain grains which are also larger in size. And if you see the structural detail of the pollen grain, if you see here in this figure 2.5a, this is a tetrad, okay? And after maturation, when the maturation process starts, then it undergoes into several stages. That is what we are going to discuss now, okay? So in a mature pollen, actually there are two outer layers. There are two walls. So here you can see there is two walls. So these two walls or two layers, the outer layer is called as exine and inner layer is called as intine. Okay, so exine is actually outer and hard layer. It is made up of a substance which is called as sporopollenin. So let me tell you that this term sporopollenin is very important, and this has been asked so many times in the competitive examinations, and this is the most resistant organic material present on earth. Okay, and this uh, does not degrade by any known enzyme. There is no known enzyme which can degrade this substance, and it can withstand extremes of the temperature. It can withstand the acids and alkali, and it is very resistant. It cannot be degraded, it cannot be digested. And because of this property, the pollen grains or the sporopollenin, this material is also very well preserved in the fossils. And the pollens of fossils actually give lot of information about the species of the plants, species of the angiospermic plants which were present millions or billions of years ago. Okay, so this exine is actually a outer covering, it is hard covering, but at certain points in the pollen grain, there is a certain place where there will be a gap. Okay, so this is called as aperture, and this there will be no sporopollen in that region, and that portion, that particular structure is called as germ pore. Okay, so when the pollen germination takes place, this region where this sporopollenin is absent, this allows the pollen tube to grow and to germinate. Then inside this exine layer, there will be another layer which is called as intine. So intine is a very thin layer, but it is a continuous layer. It is made up of mainly cellulose and pectin materials. Okay, it is a continuous layer. That means it is also present at the place of the germ pore. It is present throughout the pollen. So that is why it is called as continuous layer. So this is about the structure, that if you see there are two layers in the wall, exine and intine, and we had seen the structure now. So how the pollen grain is formed? If you want to understand that, as we already have seen in the previous lecture, that the pollen mother cell or PMC, this undergoes the meiotic division or meiosis, and then it produces the microspore tetrad. Okay, then we had seen that this microspore tetrad actually starts maturing, and during this maturation process, this tetrad is actually the pollen of the tetrad separate and they become independent pollen grains, and then finally at the end the mature pollen is formed and it is released after the dehiscence. However, if you see the activity or the things which are going on inside the pollen, then there are certain more things to add over here. So when the microspore tetrad is formed and pollen grain cell, a single pollen grain cell which is haploid, this is formed. After that, there is again cell division. Okay, so now because it already has undergone the meiosis, cell division or reduction cell division, now it will undergo the mitosis. Okay, so in the mitosis, what you get, you will get the uh, similar copy of the cell, because mitosis is a equational division where two similar kinds of the cells are produced. So, after the mitosis of this pollen grain cell, inside the pollen grain which is undergoing the maturation process, you will have now two cells. One cell is called as vegetative cell, another cell is called as generative cell. Okay, so the vegetative cell actually is larger and much bigger in size as compared to the generative cell, which is smaller in size. And vegetative cell is bigger in size. It has abundant food reserve material, which actually helps the pollen to germinate and grow. And the shape of the nucleus in the vegetative cell, which is a bigger cell in the pollen grain, the shape is irregular shape. Okay, so this will be not very clearly spherical or round shaped, rather the shape might be irregular. Whereas for the generative cell, there will be again one nucleus just like the vegetative cell, but this cell will be much smaller in size, and the cytoplasm will be very dense cytoplasm for this generative cell. Okay, and the shape of this generative cell is a spindle shaped. Here if you see in this figure, after the mature, after this cell division of this pollen grain cell, what happens now? If you can see, these are the uh, spindles which are formed, and finally eventually two cells have formed. So this is the vegetative cell, large cell with irregular nucleus, and this is the generative cell. So if you focus here, you can see that this generative cell is smaller in size and it is spindle shaped. स्पिंडल शेप्ड क्या होता है? एक इस तरह का, राइट, बीच में सोलन होगा, एंड्स पे टेपरिंग होगा. सो a spindle shaped cell called generative cell with a dense cytoplasm is actually found. Let me tell you, and this is an important point, that this generative cell actually it floats in the cytoplasm of the vegetative cell. Okay, so these two cells get very clearly divided. They exist as a sort of independent cell inside the same pollen. So don't get confused. This is the single pollen inside which these two cells are there. So this two celled stage of the generative cell can further actually uh, it further goes under the process of mitosis and it divides again. So the vegetative cell does not divide. However, the generative cell divide once more. So after mitosis, this generative cell will again generate two male gametes. So from the generative cell, two cells will be generated. So now one vegetative cell and two generative cells after the mitosis will result into finally three celled stage. So this all is just the process of the pollen maturation which is going on. So there is one point to add on, that once the pollen grains are matured, only then the dehiscence or release of the anthers, release of the pollen grain from the anther takes place. However, this dehiscence or release of the uh, anther from release of the pollen from the anther may take place at the two cell stage when there is only one generative cell, or it may take place at the three cell stage when there are two generative cells in one vegetative cell. Okay, so in most of the angiospermic plants, that is to say 60% of the angiospermic plants actually have the dehiscence or release of the anther at the two cell stage. Okay, and after the dehiscence, then uh, the division, the next mitotic division to generate the two male gametes to finally get the three cell stage may operate later. That means after the pollen grain is released in these particular species. However, in the remaining 40% of the angiosperms, the pollen grain is released or the dehiscence takes place only after these male gametes, two male gametes have been formed. That means in 40% of the angiosperms, pollen grains are released at the three celled stage. Okay, so this is one important thing which you should remember. Now these pollen grains which have a diverse kind of the architecture on their exine layer, they actually uh, are very light, and they enter through air currents into the our airways, into our lungs, and into our respiratory system, and by that process they can cause many diseases including the allergies. So pollen grains are very notorious for the for causing allergies, and by persistent irritation of our system they can cause chronic disorders like asthma or bronchitis. Okay, so pollen grains actually can result into, they can cause actually many respiratory diseases. There is one famous example, and this is very allergic pollen. There is one grass called as carrot grass. The scientific name is Parthenium. So this Parthenium was actually, it came into our country when the wheat grains, wheat seeds were imported from abroad. So this carrot grass came along with the wheat, along with the imported wheat, and this pollen of the Parthenium is actually very harmful to human health, and it causes pollen allergy in lot of people, and this is very notorious plant. So you should remember, this is very important, that Parthenium pollen is actually very allergic. And as we have seen that this vegetative cell, which is bigger in size, the vegetative cell actually has a huge amount and very rich, abundant food reserve. So because of this abundant food reserve in the pollen grains, this is also a very good source of the nutrients, and that is why in many developed countries pollen tablets or pollen syrups are actually used as food supplements, or used uh, uh, as nutrients for many people. Okay, many athletes or the race horses are fed up on uh, some pollen materials to get lot of the good nutrients. So as if you see in this figure in your textbook, you will see that many tablets, many syrups, they are actually sold by many brand names in many developed countries including Britain, US, etc. Okay, so pollen tablets, pollen syrups, they are taken by athletes. Now one more thing, once this pollen which has become mature and it has undergone the dehiscence, that means it has been released from the anther. Now it will be carried to the stigma by a process that is called as pollination, right? So after the pollination, this has to reach to the stigma, and there, upon availability of the suitable conditions, what will happen, that the pollen will germinate. The pollen tube will grow from the pollen, from the germ pore, and this pollen tube will take the male gametes uh, towards the female gamete in the gynoecium, that means onto the female flower. Okay, so however, one thing which is very important is that uh, this process of pollination, or process of uh, reaching the pollen from uh, from anther till stigma may take a long time. So this anther has to survive that much period. So in some species of the plants, the anthers may survive a very long period of time. However, in certain other species, this may not survive for a very long period of time, and this is called as pollen viability. So what is viability of the pollen? Pollen viability means that how long the pollen will be alive, it will be functional, and it will be suitable for the pollination and fertilization. Okay, so viability of the pollen on stigma will depend on lot of factors, including the temperature and humidity. That means it will depend on the environmental condition. It will also depend on the species. Okay, so there are varied durations because of the environmental conditions like temperature and humidity, and because of the which species this pollen belongs to. So, for example, the pollen grains of the rice and wheat variety, they don't have a very long viability period. The pollen grains of the rice and wheat, after getting released from the anther, may successfully fertilize and germinate on the stigma within 30 minutes. Up to 30 minutes of the release time, they can very easily grow, but after 30 minutes they may not be able to successfully do the pollen germination and the fertilization. So the viability period of the rice and wheat plant is 30 minutes. However, in many and large number of the plants, this viability period may extend for several weeks, for several months, or even several years sometimes. So in members of the family Rosaceae, Solanaceae, and Leguminosae, the pollen viability actually extends to several months. So Solanaceae का member potato है, आप सबको पता है, right? Leguminosae का member है garden pea. So here the pollen viability is much more as compared to the rice and wheat. So because these pollen are very important, and which pollen will go and fertilize which female gametophyte or which ovule, that is very important. And because it is a sexual reproduction, the characteristics or features of the both male as well as female parent will decide the characteristics and features of the progeny or the next generation. So be it some fruit, or be it some crop variety, or be it some cereals, okay, for any of the plants, this regulation that which anther or rather which pollen grain is going to germinate which ovule, that has to be very important. And many times what happens that this breeding or this pollination is carried by artificial means. Okay, so breeding, artificial pollination is done for the cross breeding program of many species. Many hybrid varieties are generated by cross breeding programs, where desired males and desired females are selected, and pollen grains are collected from the plants, and they are sprinkled on, or they are uh, put on the desired plant of desired females of that particular variety, for getting improvement in the crop yield, or crop nutrient, or many other factors which are desired. Okay, so because of this need for the crop breeding program, many times there is a need to store these pollen grains. Okay, so there are pollen banks which have been created in many companies or in government places, uh, in maybe in universities or research institutes. So these pollen banks store large amount of the pollen for later use, so that they do not lose the viability. So they are stored under the protected and suitable environmental conditions, and they retain their viability for a much longer period of time than under the natural conditions. So usually they are stored in the liquid nitrogen boxes, in liquid nitrogen container. They are put in some vials, and then they are stored in the liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen has a very low temperature. At this minus 196 degrees Celsius temperature is actually maintained in the liquid nitrogen chambers, and in those containers, in those tanks, these pollen can be stored for several years, and they can be taken out, and they can be sprinkled, and they can be used for the crop breeding program uh, whenever there is a need. Okay, so this is very helpful for the many companies and for the farmers who are growing these hybrid varieties, or many breeds which are unique, or which have been maintained or generated by lot of efforts. Okay, so now we will stop here about the pollen grain. So we have discussed in much detail about the structure of the androecium, about the structure of the microsporangium, about microsporogenesis, and the structure of the pollen grain, and the structural details, and how this cell divides, and two cell stage, three cell stage, all those things we have seen. We also have seen the viability factor. Now we will stop over here. We will discuss about the megasporangium, or the female portion of the plant reproduction, in the next lecture. So I hope that you have understood the things, and feel free to ask me if you have any doubts. Okay, take care and happy learning. Stay safe, and don't forget to make your notes. Okay, bye bye.